She decided she would kill them, one by one. First the boy, and then that wretched, cat-like girl. The perfect weapon? One of her stockings stuffed with rocks. They'd never see it coming. Now, it wouldn't be easy, gaining their trust, getting close to them, convincing them she should be a part of their trip. She wasn't good at making friends, but she would do it, for his sake. To be with him, she would do anything. Irisu Syndrome is not just a puzzle game. Hidden in its files are text and photos that hint at a much darker story, and racking up the points brings you closer to the truth. But why? Why is uncovering the game's secrets so reliant on a game where you destroy matching colored blocks? Why a bunny witch girl, and why the creepy drawings of cats killing themselves in a multitude of ways? Special thanks to iDreadfell365 for suggesting the literal inspiration for Doki Doki Literature Club, with a story and game mechanics that stand the test of time. Please keep in mind that this 2008 cult classic does include heavy elements of suicidal ideation, self-harm, and animal abuse. So if these topics could be harmful to you, I hope that you'll avoid watching this video for your own peace of mind and safety. So, with that said, if you're ready, sit back, relax, get cozy, and let the nightmare begin as we take a deep dive into Irisu Syndrome. There is no tutorial to help you out. The developer Tetsu is counting on your inexperience and experimentation with the puzzle to keep your scores low each round. They're also counting on your curiosity and exploration of the game's files to uncover the dark secrets within. For the first ending, the game files combined with photos and dialogue earned after you've completed a round of block matching hint to a murderous plan. Concept: on an island, the outbreak of a serial murder incident. The actors are 3 people. Edogawa, his role is to disappear first. Uji, his role is to disappear second while going to search for Edo. Irisu, her role is to remain until the end. Uji, Edogawa, and Agiha are on a trip they planned during their university break. Sitting on the beach, they discuss plans for dinner, and someone mentions the desire to complete more illustrations, though who's speaking is not entirely clear. In the background hiding is a pair of long bunny ears. To everyone, day 1, everyone is getting along for now. In the hopes that you don't show unnatural behavior, I earnestly thank you. Later that night at their cabin, Edogawa tells the others a ghost story about a witch that experiments on people when Agiha falls silent. She's seen this witch before. She's sure of it. The witch's hat with bunny ears, the apron dress. Yes, it was someone watching them earlier, silently, but intently. She ran away before Agi could get a good look at her, but she's certain she saw the witch. Edogawa jokes, saying they'll all be part of her experiments now, but Agiha doesn't want to hear it anymore. We will gradually begin from nightfall. Please appropriately make up some ghost stories. Like we planned at our recent meeting, incorporate what we talked about into your story. The following day, Uji and Agiha are sitting outside eating leftover curry when Agiha realizes Edogawa still isn't back yet. How long had it been since he woke and left their cabin? A few hours, maybe? Uji suggests Edogawa went fishing and should be back soon, which is a fair assumption, but the photo inside the game file implies otherwise. He's been scribbled out. But does that mean he's dead? Missing, or something else entirely? The duo set off in search of their friend, and somewhere within the woods, Uji thinks he hears a voice. He tells Agiha to stay behind while he checks it out and promises he'll return soon. To Uji, one person is erased. From around here, bit by bit, the climax is coming. Edo should secretly vanish in the dead of night. Uji, please suggest going to search for Edo. Disappear unnoticed when you find a chance to do so. As the story progresses and these notes keep appearing, you can't help but wonder. Are they instructions or a retelling of events during the trip? A glimpse of what's already happened? Agiha is now sitting alone on the cabin steps, wondering where everyone has gone. Irisu's text file appears, but it only contains 3 dots, as if she's waiting, maybe, for the end. Each time we end a round of the game, Irisu fades into the screen, her face almost completely void of emotion. It's her red eyes that stand out the most. To me, she looks like she's trying to compose herself, to not lose control. But once Uji goes missing, Irisu's expression changes, and she can be seen crying each time. Is she showing feelings of remorse or regret? A guilty conscience, maybe? The final scene is a TV broadcast. We can't hear everything, but the university students that have gone missing are now breaking news because one of their bodies has been found. Through dental records, they were able to identify the body of Edogawa Takeru. This suggests that his body was either too disfigured or in an advanced state of composition to be identified by physical appearance alone. The police are still searching for Irisu and the other 2 students, but their whereabouts are unknown. To further confirm the fate of Uji, Edogawa, and Agiha, they are all scribbled out in the photo within the game file. This is not the ending of the game. As I said in the beginning, the developer wanted you to become familiar with the puzzle game, understand its mechanics so that you can earn a higher score. Earn 20,000 points in at least 1 round of the game, and Agiha has now entered the cabin.
We're the only 2 left. Where did everyone go? Huh? What is this?
She sees the photos from their trip, reads the notes we found in the game files. She calls for someone named Kyoko, questioning the pictures and notes, where the others have gone. Then, she lashes out at them, her back facing the screen as she speaks, and Irisu appears in a really interesting way on the screen.
Hey, answer me. Where did they go, Kyoko? Say something, Kyoko. I knew it. You're always watching Satoru, aren't you? You're always glancing at him at class. It was really obvious every time. And I saw you. You were peeking at Satoru's notebook as you pleased. What were you thinking? You're not in elementary school, smiling while looking at the notebook and getting all excited over Satoru's drawings. You know, I thought something was weird about this trip. You did it while I wasn't looking, didn't you? Where did you take Satoru and Edogawa-kun? They're somewhere, right? Where are they? Where have you gone? Kyoko! Irisu, Kyoko!
Her clothes splattered in blood and holding a bat covered in nails, Irisu glares at Agiha, raises the bat over her head, her eyes wild and red. She swings down, and the screen goes black before the game shuts down. Surprise! It's a birthday party. Silly Agiha, don't you know your friends wouldn't actually murder you? Right? Right? She stares at Irisu in disbelief, tears in her eyes as Irisu wishes her a happy birthday. Uji can be seen breaking the bat in half, revealing it to be nothing more than a foam prop. Meanwhile, Irisu stares at Agiha holding her gift. The game ends, but it also doesn't, because you didn't really think that was the end, did you? I mean, look at how much more video we have left. An entry from Agiha appears in the game files. She realizes both boys were in on the surprise party and recalls how she said some pretty awful stuff to Irisu when she thought she had murdered her friends. But Irisu's not such a bad girl. Sure, she coughs a lot and her throat seems bad, so naturally she worries about her. But next time, Agiha would like to go somewhere alone with just Uji. If only he'd stop drawing those creepy pictures of suicidal cats. She realized just recently that he seems to be imitating the style of some foreign cartoonist called something or other, and I'm assuming she's referring to Andy Riley since she tells Uji if he's going to draw like that, at least draw suicidal rabbits like the cartoonist does. And apparently Uji has done just that, going so far as to bring a sketchbook with him on the trip to continue his, illustrations. So from the birthday party and Agiha's text file, we now understand a little more. Both Irisu and Agiha have a crush on Uji, which would explain why Irisu cries after his death in the bad ending. Perhaps she murdered him, then later regretted her actions. But again, why? Why would she murder the one she likes, and why go so far as to kill his friends too? What does Uji's cat drawings have to do with all of this? Returning to the start menu and staying for a while will generate a clue about Irisu's childhood. She moved around a lot as a child, so she never made friends. Eventually, she stopped talking from fear of allowing herself to get close to someone, only to leave them with the next move. As a result, her classmates and teachers shunned her. Her only friend, a rabbit, kept in the schoolyard. It too was shunned by the children because it was weak, covered in scars, and half of one ear had been torn off. However, there was also a schoolyard cat which everyone loved and played with. But Irisu has a cat allergy, so she stayed away from it and everyone else. One day, a boy showed up to help the rabbit. Irisu believes he lost a bet of some kind, but regardless, she was aware of his presence every day he visited, going so far as to call these meetings the only happy moments of her childhood, indicating that her home life might have been far from pleasant. That brief happiness she felt was shattered when she arrived at the rabbit's cage one day to find blood splattered everywhere. All that remained of the rabbit was its severed head, and the cat, the one that made Irisu sick, that everyone played with over the poor rabbit, was licking the remains. As I've always said, a traumatic past doesn't necessarily mean a person will go on to do unthinkable things. But learning about Irisu's childhood, her loneliness, her inability to form relationships, and the traumatic, gory death of something she cared deeply about helps us to see the beginnings of her distorted thought pattern. But there are still more pieces of the story to uncover, so back to the game we go. After earning 40,000 points or more in the normal game, we get an odd text file written by Irisu titled, "Lately, I've been taking cough medicine without restraint," and it reveals a lot about Irisu's thoughts and plans. She describes her annoyance with Edogawa and Agiha. They're annoying, noisy, and she wishes everyone would just die. However, today, she met a lone boy with a cute smile. Uujima. She liked that he was always alone, like her, so one day she peeked into his notebook and was thrilled by what she saw. All those drawings of cats harming themselves. She thought that, like her, he must have hated cats too, and their meeting must have been fate. Since that day, she's always felt strongly about Uji, even though they don't speak to one another. They share classes together several times a week, and she feels like it's been so long since she's been this happy. Since playing with the rabbit in elementary school, she's decided she won't let anyone or anything come between her and Uji. Not like the rabbit. She won't let him be eaten up. Recently, however, Agiha has gotten a little too close to Uji, her voice high-pitched like a cat's meow. She overhears Edogawa and Agiha discussing a trip with him. That would mean leaving Irisu behind without her beloved, and she can't let that happen, can she? She can't let that thieving cat take him along as she pleases. She realizes what she wants to do now. Agiha and Edogawa must die. She'll go on a trip with them to a remote area. She'll kill them both, erase all evidence of her presence at the scene.
Hiding myself while I pull all the strings behind the scenes of this trip. They will die a mysterious death and be disposed of and eventually forgotten. And Uji will become mine alone.
She asked them to copy their notes for an upcoming exam, using this as an excuse to get closer. Later, however, she rethinks her plan while soaking in the tub. She'd never do what she was planning, would she? She must have been in a strange state of mind. She was just confused, right? But she has to admit, her weapon of choice wasn't half bad. Beautiful and compact. It could be made easily, anywhere. She opens a packet of cough medicine, letting the white granules cool her mouth, help her breathing, and reach her brain. The reason she couldn't go through with the plan was because of her feelings, and ever since childhood, she's played a mental game of destroying odd things. She does it now, allowing it to calm her heart and soothe her feelings of insecurity. Thank goodness, she thinks. I almost crossed the point where I could no longer undo my mistakes. At that time, I was utterly strange. There's no need to lure Uji to the crime scene. Edogawa is an idiot, but he's harmless, really. No, the target is that cat. Her alone is good enough. Irisu pours another packet of cough medicine into her mouth. This makes 30 packets of ephedrine and codeine. It makes her mind hazy, her thoughts spinning and turning. Before, she was too interested trying to entertain herself. This time, she won't let her feelings waver. She'll cut emotion out of the equation and will attempt to construct a flawless plan. And if she succeeds, she'll sit with Uji, their backs to the sunset, admiring his beautiful drawings together. This text file implies that perhaps the birthday party happened in the past and she had originally planned to kill Agiha and Edogawa during the trip, but her emotions prevented her from doing so. When you consider that the game she plays to remain calm and rational, the very same block-destroying game we've been playing all along, it makes sense that to earn the birthday ending, we needed a higher score. We needed to keep Irisu stable enough to realize her plan was immoral and wrong. However, now that they've returned, her mind now impacted by the effects of so much medicine, the game might not have quite the same effect as it once did. Agiha is the only person scribbled out in the group photo this time. The scribbles are white, potentially symbolizing a new beginning, a new plan forming, while the previous black scribbles were reserved for the completion of the plan, once a person met their end. So this makes me wonder, what happened during the bad ending? What caused Irisu to change her mind, to kill not only Agiha and Edogawa but Uji as well, the one she was doing all of this for to begin with? We know that scoring low in the game was the key to this ending, Irisu being unable to stay calm and sane as a result. Her regret for killing Uji apparent in the aftermath, but what could have prompted her change in plans? Earning 40,000 points in one round unlocks a new version of the game and reveals a new, creepier image of Irisu. Cast in shadow, only her eyes shine wild and red. I interpreted this image as her final descent into a madness she can't return from, but I've also seen a popular fan theory that perhaps Irisu is now possessed by the dead rabbit she befriended during her childhood. Definitely an interesting take, but one that I can understand after receiving the image titled Utaro for earning 100,000 points in the game. If you access the new version of the game called Metsu Mode before scoring 100,000 points, this image will be lost to you. Complete the challenge, however, and we're given this drawing. This drawing is a picture of a rabbit, I'm assuming named Utaro. It's drawn in the same style as Uji's cat, showcasing the rabbit's death. The rocks by its head suggest it was bludgeoned, but the rest of its body is obscured by violent scribbles, creating an even darker image of a distorted, abstract rabbit head, almost like a restless soul, corrupted by the brutality of its death. Its eyes are large and uneven, its asymmetry and aggressive markings all the more unsettling. Then there's the red scribbles across its left ear. At first, I didn't think this was the same rabbit from Irisu's childhood, because she mentioned part of its ear was missing, but this depiction also seems to suggest that the artist could have been responsible for the rabbit's weakened state and disfigurement. The paper is also aged, smudged in what appears to be dried blood, perhaps, of his victim. Assuming the boy from Irisu's childhood is Uji, would showcase his troubling past but also makes sense as to why the school found the rabbit weakened and disfigured in the playground. While I'm not 100% sold on the possession theory, this would explain why earning 40,000 points fails to keep Irisu sane, and instead results in the dark, violent Irisu but also the new version of the game. Metsu, or Destruction Mode, elaborates on the story about Utaro the rabbit through 6 torn pages. Told from the perspective of a boy in elementary school that I'm going to assume is Uji based on the Utaro image, we're told about the cat and how popular it was with the children at school, but also of the rabbit. Someone had picked it up in the schoolyard and the staff decided to keep it in a cage at school. The rabbit looked miserable, wounded and ragged, missing an ear on one side, and for some reason, it tended to avoid people, so the rabbit wasn't well liked by the students and was always alone. The rabbit's tendency to avoid people could further hint to it being harmed by a person prior to it being found in the schoolyard. The boy began to feel sorry for the rabbit, so being careful that no one would see him, he sometimes went to visit. He felt relieved every time he saw the rabbit was alive and well. Maybe he wanted to avoid being seen due to a guilty conscience, and his relief for the rabbit was more so because his actions hadn't resulted in its death, preventing Uji from being discovered. He would watch the cat and rabbit play with one another through the fence and believed that although the cat was popular and the rabbit was not, that both had a good relationship. One day, he found Irisu visiting the rabbit, and he watched from afar as she played and talked with it and gave it food. He found the scene pleasant. He frequently watched her after that, learning that she was in a different class than him, that she was allergic to cats, and she was always alone. It seems he never really learned her name, nor she his, so in the present day, Uji and Irisu are unaware that they knew each other before attending university together. Over time, he developed his own feelings for Irisu and felt relieved to see her loneliness fade a little while playing with Utaro. Uji never spoke to Irisu, however, because he played with the cat as well and worried if he got too close to her that she would have a coughing fit from her allergies. He realized he was only making excuses. He could have stopped playing with the cat, but he simply didn't have the courage to talk to her. Again, this makes me wonder if his lack of courage is due to nervousness over liking Irisu or feeling guilty for hurting the rabbit she loves so much. Later, after Utaro's death, Uji's teacher had told the children the rabbit had been attacked by a wild dog. However, the cage had no gaps for a wild dog to slip through. The body of the rabbit, whose head had been severed, had been found abandoned in a corner of the schoolyard. But long afterwards, the children's parents told them the truth. Not long after, Irisu stopped coming to school. Perhaps she moved again, but the cat had also disappeared. Uji comments that all that remained in his heart were the wounded rabbit's sad last moments. And Irisu, holding the rabbit's last moments in his heart, feels pretty significant, as if he knows how Utaro truly died. He stated the parents told the children the truth afterwards, but it's not explicitly said that they knew who had killed the rabbit. It's only implied that they realized someone had, and not a wild animal. But my suspicions don't exactly confirm Uji's involvement in the rabbit's death. We need further proof. If we earn 50,000 points in Metsu mode after unlocking the 6 torn pages, Irisu questions what ending she was wishing for in the past. She can't clearly remember. Her ideal happy ending certainly wasn't this, but, well, this is also fine. Embarrassed, but perhaps finally content, Irisu stands with Edogawa, Agiha, and Uji for a photo. It's fall now, suggesting a future beyond the birthday party trip in which she's given up her attempts to kill Agiha and has accepted everyone's friendship instead. It seems like the perfect ending, but then there's Uji and his potentially troubling past. If true, if he killed Utaro as a child, were his psychological needs met later on, or did he grow and fall further into a darker state of mind? This ending unlocks another text file titled Suicidal Rabbit Diary. Told from Uji's perspective, we get a deep look into his psyche and troubling thoughts. Drawing cats calms his mind in a similar way as Irisu's mind game. While drawing in class, he can hear the group behind him saying something negative about him. He doesn't really care, but today he complains to Edogawa, a potential member of this group, and they end up arguing. Uji notices Edogawa's feelings for Agiha, even if she's not aware herself. But he also notices Irisu and her loneliness. He finds Irisu looking at his notebook one day, alone in class, but instead of confronting her, he hides in the shadows and watches. He finds her lovely for looking at his notebook without permission. He later finds himself happy just watching her, and he thinks that he'd like to be killed by her. He wants her to sit closer to him, relishes in her continual peeks at his notebook. He draws more pictures of dying cats. Irisu has seen 10 of Uji's notebooks by now, filled with his drawings. 10 notebooks of different torture and killing methods. He wonders, is she enjoying it? One day, he sees Agiha in the hallway, feeling ill and dizzy, and he compares her to an anemic cat, which makes you wonder, how does he know what that looks like? He takes Agiha somewhere to rest and says this was a mistake because later, Edogawa and Agiha start to befriend him. The conversation started and Uji didn't draw pictures of cats. He can sense Agiha's growing affection toward him as a result of his carefully curated persona. He's troubled that Agiha and Edogawa are making it harder for him to draw and show Irisu his notebooks, and one day Agiha sees the pictures and questions him. She acts like she's only teasing, but surely on the inside she's confused. Maybe, if he shows her he's that kind of person, she'll stop trying to get close to him, and Uji could finally show Irisu his illustrations again. His response, however, doesn't seem to change their opinion of him. They later go on a trip, and once returning home, he's surprised to find that he looked happier in the trip photos than he expected. It's strange. Why does he care so much about being with people he barely knows? Summer approaches and Edagawa and Agiha find it strange that Uji always wears long sleeves, but it isn't something small enough to hide with a watch. If they realize what it is, they'll leave him, and he enjoys being their friend. It's later that he realizes that his photo from the initial trip is missing. He put it between the pages of one of his notebooks, but he can't seem to find it now. It's the photo that Irisu finds, the one she scribbles on with each death, the one she leaves at the cabin during the next trip, for Agiha to find. Uji decides to read Irisu's notebook to distract himself from wanting to connect with her somehow. He's happy that Irisu likes him and seems not to care at all that she hates Edagawa and Agiha, and that she's created a plan for their demise, which he calls nice. He's even impressed by her strong love for rabbits. Above all, he's very happy that she looks forward to his illustrations. It's implied that at first Uji considers Irisu's plan to be nothing more than a fictional story she's creating, using the names of actual people to make it more realistic. But then she greets him, Edagawa, and Agiha in the library and asks to copy their notes, just like he read in her notebook. Uji can't control his heartbeat. This is the first time he's hearing Irisu's voice, and he realizes her plan to kill is all too real. He observes her careful planning to control the others' ideas for the trip, and decides if she does go through with it and kills the others, well, there really isn't anything to worry about. But wait, if she were to pull it off, to erase all evidence that she had gone on the trip with them, what would Uji say to the police? He thinks about this some more. What if Irisu decided to kill him instead? That would be the ideal ending for him. An attractive, happy ending. But how could he convince her to do that? One day, Agiha tells Uji to draw pictures of rabbits if he's trying to imitate the cartoonist who does the same. Uji has been trying to convince her that he's imitating the artist this whole time, that this idea wasn't his alone before she mentioned the cartoonist even existed. So he draws lots and lots of pictures of dying rabbits. But not because he's trying to convince Agiha anymore. Irisu loves rabbits. If she found these pictures during their trip, what would she do to him? He's excited, just imagining it. The final addition to the rabbit drawings reminds him of a story from a while ago. It makes his chest hurt, sharply. Violently, it hurts. The trip is tomorrow, so he'll sleep for now, looking forward to his happy ending. The next few pages have been torn out, suggesting these are the torn pages collected in Metsu mode. Uji later dreams of silent red eyes accusing him of something, and he can't seem to get that vision out of his mind. The group is about to leave for the trip, and Uji considers Edagawa and Agiha. They're idiots, but basically he realizes they're his idiots, and maybe allowing them to die so that he can as well might not be the best idea. He wonders if the four of them could end up happily if Agiha liked Edagawa instead, if their situations were different. Maybe. Maybe if Irisu's plan fails, maybe he can fix the disordered ties between them. He could try and change this small world and finally destroy his past. Then maybe he could search for a better future. If that's the case, though, shouldn't he find some reason to stop the trip? Ugh, it's too much trouble. Well, whatever. There is a lot to unpack with these diary entries. For starters, Uji doesn't fantasize about being with Irisu. He fantasizes about being destroyed by her. Along with evidence of his own self-harm, there's a pattern of self-destructive obsession. He hints to his own loneliness and potential neglect throughout childhood. There's also the morbid fascination with animal cruelty, but in an odd way, it almost appears as a form of emotional regulation where the violence isn't quite as important as the ritual of drawing the violence and thinking through all the different scenarios. Uji is a university student with a seriously skewed perspective of the world. He has difficulty processing, understanding, and regulating emotions. Fueled by a need to erase his past, to unburden himself from the guilt, he creates drawings of dying rabbits to enrage Irisu, to convince her that the one she's loved secretly from afar deserves to die along with Edagawa and Agiha. But did Uji really go so far as to actually harm and kill the rabbit and cat as a child? If you reach level 100 in Metsu mode, a final text file titled Used in Art Class is revealed.
Cutting off the rabbit's head with a saw is a terrible deed. While listening to the sound of pouring rain, I get to work. Even though its body is so small, its flesh and bones are unexpectedly tough. My hands have been covered with blood and fat and fluids I can't identify. Making a grinding sound, the blade progresses bit by bit. Before long, the rabbit's head is separated from its body. I leave just the rabbit's head on the ground. Silently, the rabbit feels like it's staring at me. Carrying the body of the rabbit, I left the cage. While being drenched by rain, I headed for a corner of the schoolyard. I hid the rabbit's body in a bush in the corner. To the wash basin, cleaned my hands and the saw, carefully, every nook and cranny, carefully to leave no traces, carefully, carefully. At that point, I opened my eyes. It's been a long time since I've seen that dream. Early that morning, I went to see how the rabbit was. I chose a time when I would not interrupt the girl's visit. When I looked through the cage, the rabbit was dead. Dead as if it were sleeping, as if it had gotten tired of living. What will come of this rabbit's death? I imagined the future. An empty cage, the rabbit, life and death forgotten, the girl once again completely alone. That future is no good. I felt that way. The key to the cage? In the locker, in a corner of the schoolyard. The moment I remembered it, I ran with all my strength. In order to change the future, by any means necessary. Without my noticing, rain began to pour down. While running breathlessly at full speed, various thoughts ran through my head. The rabbit that silently vanished without anyone noticing. I wanted somebody to hold its memory in their heart. Even if only in memories, I wanted them to feel sorry for it. If, in whatever form, the rabbit became a topic of conversation, the girl who often took care of the rabbit would be able to talk with everyone. That would surely be a chance for her to fit in. Various thoughts ran through my head. Were my actions right? After that, talk about the rabbit certainly increased. That's scary. We should be careful. That's all that they said. The true center of conversation was the lost cat. A few days later, the cat came back to the school. Everyone was pleased. As for the rabbit, everyone had already forgotten it. What happened to the girl, I'll never know. After the rabbit died, nobody saw her again. Were my actions right? In the end, I couldn't change the future. If nobody else, I at least will keep that scarred rabbit deeply carved into myself.
I was wrong about Uji. I read too much into the diary pages from his childhood, coupled with the disturbing drawings and his desire to die. Uji dismembered the rabbit, which is absolutely bizarre and troublesome in its own right, but he didn't kill the rabbit. He didn't kill the cat, and in his own warped way, he only wanted people to remember the lonely rabbit, to feel sorry for it, and to talk to Irisu, the lonely girl he cared for. Perhaps this need stems from his own suppressed desires to alleviate his own loneliness. I think his guilt from adulthood is more so about his actions as a child. He wanted to change the future to ensure the rabbit was never forgotten, but now he remains troubled by what he did. The rabbit's memory preserved in a morbid, traumatic way for Uji and Irisu both. In his mind, death would absolve him of this guilt and pain that he tried to push down and forget. It would remove the emotions that would sometimes dull but resurface in painful ways. And if Irisu thought, like I did, that he was responsible for Utaro's death after seeing the final drawing he created, there would be no going back for her. Both characters have the potential to do troubling, irreversible things, but Irisu Syndrome gives them a way out, a chance to not act on the intrusive thoughts. It shows the potential for a future beyond the darkness. Irisu Syndrome truly subverted my expectations with its ambiguous close because we don't really know what these two characters ultimately decided. Did Irisu murder everyone? Was she and Uji able to overcome their thoughts long enough to form true relationships with everyone, to find happiness? And did Uji find a way to overcome his past and move toward a brighter future? I'd love to know your thoughts in the comments below, and again, I hope you're safe and taking care of yourself considering the sensitive topics we discussed. Thank you so much for watching. Here's another one of my videos, and as always, may your nightmares be strangely cozy.